In the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful, in honor of the original unconditional cause to all these simulated conditional effects. In honor of the system admin, O system admin of this world, I acknowledge your presence beyond it and through it. All right, folks, this is somewhat of a difficult lecture to record, but since yesterday I decided to be true to my emotional reality underneath all the modes that I have functioned through. Today I woke up, and from the beginning of the morning I had this feeling of not being impressed by anything. I can see the unknown variables to the day, and I could see the known variables, but for the first day, honestly, I've had days like this before, but today, it's been unimpressive. I am unimpressed, okay? And a part of me asked me, like I asked myself, for how long can I give these lectures, you know, with a sort of emotion and with a sort of role, and could it be in some sense that I am not being true to this work by hiding how I actually, how I actually feel, you know, but on a more subconscious level. So first thing I realized is that I've lived like halfway. I'm halfway through this video game of life. So there's one half left. Now, granted, when I started this Mr. Within project, I didn't know why I was doing it. I just felt called to it. The fact that I've been doing it so long, it's just been a calling, you know. There's been expectations throughout the years of this image, that image, you know, this visualization, that visualization, and after some point, you know, I'm tired. Not tired of giving the lectures, the Mr. Within archetype, just the privilege of being a new archetype in 2026 is a blessing. But the viewers have to know that before there was Mr. Within, there was a human being with different realities. Something in my own consciousness I've noticed is that a part of me, whether it was based on fear, trauma, whatever the F it was, okay, some part of me had this impression of just taking intensity from the outer realms to within and dismantling it within. I am actually not that acquainted, you know, with going berserk. I have a habit of in some sense, defeating my emotions behind my eyes. I've done it for years. But today was a very unimpressive day. The whole day, this pure sense of boredom, this pure sense of what the F am I doing here in existence? You see, if you think you're just your body and your mind, your questions are small. In other words, I realize I've been giving these talks because I care for an invisible value. And there has been two modes of processing. From one mode of processing, I'm like, okay, what is the Mr. Within archetype? A sort of backup archetype, backup system for the species. That archetype of a human that till the rest of his life has to shout and point to the advanced civilization, the advanced potential of the species. So Mr. Within, folks, is a role I'm playing. Okay? It is not based on my personal energy. It is based on my presence. But there's a person here as well. You know, there's a quote from Bukowski. And what I'm going to tell you, it's a very incredible way to kind of figure out how valuable of a life you've lived. Hold on, guys. Let me find this quote. Okay, I don't know where it is. Like, I can't connect to the computer for some reason, okay? But I'm going to tell you this. Charles Bukowski had this weird quote. And, in the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful. Charles Bukowski has this thing where he says, he was a famous writer, and he said, when you get into trouble and when you're at your lowest point, you see who your friends or who your allies are. You see that. And then years of artificial edifices of like impressions break. You know, as the years are going by, as the days are passing, I'm realizing, I'm noticing more. I'm even noticing more about myself. And deep down, because in my inner realms, I've accessed visions of an advanced civilization, I am in some sense a part of me hates the inefficiency of the current system. And so because it's past the midpoint of my life, I don't care. I don't really care about Civilization 1.0 that much. Bunch of, self-obsessed biological programs. That's it. It's not that impressive on Earth. Anyways, not that I really had that many friends, but I am choosing consciously, even from friends and family, just from everybody, okay, to disconnect. You guys just deserve to hear the voice. You deserve to hear the concepts. You don't deserve the presence. And that's the thing. I had never thought about it. Just like YouTube, you have videos on YouTube, and the video can be set to private, to public, to members only. I realized that ever since I turned on the membership, okay, I'm trying to live off this. Okay, but I keep forgetting how greater the world was when the responsibility wasn't being divided. That means if I'm this energy in this world. Anyways, what I'm saying is I'm starting to realize, just like a person, when you're young, you have thoughts on stuff, and as you grow older, you see depth and dimension to it, and those thoughts are not, in some sense, they're not valid. In the same way, I've realized I've been functioning under invalid emotions. That means deep down, this civilization angers me. It bothers me. But I've been every person that's come. Do you know? Let me tell the viewers. Let me tell all of you so you know. Okay? If you start a metaphysical channel, okay, and start talking in verse, in a span of 12 years, you're gonna be, in some sense, visited by a bunch of like mentally ill people. Okay, and then a bunch of other people who are just, as nice as they are, just lost in their manageable world. That means it's like something within me has been bypassing the negative emotions that are actually there from the moment to, in some sense, just promote a civilization of positive emotion. In other words, today, let me tell you my day. There was a moment today, I was at this Tim Hortons in Center Point Mall, okay, in Toronto, Canada. And it's a mall where it's kind of like, because I've been raised around this place, like this mall is a mall for primarily like, all the mid-aged people that work there, and pretty much senior citizens, immigrants who can't speak English, and young people. Okay, this is like the demographic of this mall. I was standing in line, okay, and I was just seeing the people. Imagine like an alien. Imagine, hypothetically, sometimes it's a cool thing to do. Imagine you just teleported on Earth and you're seeing everything for the first time. What does it mean? How do you feel about it? Right? So I'm walking in this mall and I am looking at a defeated species. And I'm like, yo, man, how pathetic are you that you're asking this defeated species for help? In other words, I am not dealing with humans here. You're all acting like humans in front of me. You are forces of a program underneath you that's just looping. You're all programs. That means this is the thing. There's something in human psychology. Let me tell you of a very interesting fictional Japanese narrative, okay, which is a ridiculous show. It's called One Punch Man. There's a villain in there. There's a villain in that show who, of course, his conclusion on the nature of reality is in error, but he's this kid who it's in this universe of like superheroes, okay, and all the kids in this universe of superheroes are raised wanting the superheroes to win. But there's this one strange kid born in this world, okay, that when he saw the superhero shows, he's like, why don't the villains win? That means he had more decency and humanness than all the other humans, brainwashed to think that only one specific value could suggest you are of human value. It's like, yeah, monkey, dance in a certain way, and they'll clap. It's like, what is this garbage sort of attitude we have in this demented civilizational program? In other words, I was like, yo, man, you're living in some Willy Wonka world of just like, yo, man, all right. Like, I have the ability. I can see a person and I can envision their worst self and feel sorry for them. And I can envision their most advanced self and honor them. But when I actually see what these human beings are doing, it is actually evil. It is evil to, in some sense, 8.1 billion beings wanting their own self-victories at the cost of a civilizational system. Do you understand? That means it's all been BS. It's all been bullshit. Do you understand this false sense of goodness the species has been functioning on all of you brainwashed into feeling you love everything, you love yourselves, and the planet is breaking. Do you understand? It's like shit is getting more demented and everybody feels their love is greater than before. And I know, like I don't need like any of the viewers to come and give me a sermon on like Mr. Within, you expect too much. Do you know everybody's just living their own life? You don't expect squirrels to unite and build an advanced technology. It's like, no. I know that a majority of you are too busy looking at your own lives to care for other lives. I know how the system is designed. This system intentionally is designed to make you distracted by yourself. What you are listening to is a human being who a certain emotion eclipsed him from the nature of reality. I am in some sense angry, as much as I become angry at the world and others. I can't push aside this fact that you idiot, some part of you deserve to be here. Why else are you here? Do you know? That means if you're I'm sorry, if you're among like artificial programs, there is some part of you that is either identifying with this or deserves this. They don't say this. Did you know in poker side? I don't play poker, but when I was young, I would watch it a lot. Okay. In poker, there's these people named sharks. They go and wait at tables, or they just chill and they wait and they find somebody who's like intoxicated and somebody who's gained a lot of money, and subconsciously they feel they don't deserve it. That person will come and gamble like at the poker table, and they will keep losing because their psyche deep down, a part of them doesn't feel they deserve what they have. Do you understand? Do you know? They feel they don't deserve what the sudden boost they got, right? And so they are in some sense they kind of like lose it subconsciously. Okay. I find myself in a different situation. I find myself, this anger. It's like before, guys, before any of you, before me coming in here and being like, all right, I'm gonna release all these fake people that have been acting nice to me just for the sake of their archetypal exchange value. It's like, man, I thought I was on a human on human earth. A majority of these entities are not human. Majority of you don't act human. You don't care for human. You care for the emotion that is underneath the idea of you. Who are we kidding? When I was in this Tim Hortons line, this old lady comes up to this guy and says, "Sir, do you have 75 cents?" And this guy, who was in his late 40s, says to this woman who's in her 70s that in some sense, "Sorry, ma'am, even if I had 75 cents, I wouldn't give you." And that lady just mumbles to herself and leaves. And I check my pockets and I don't have freaking any spare change, right? By the time it reaches my mind to go ask her if she needs like something or whatever, she left. Okay, and I just stood there in a feeling of disgust. It's like, bro, this system has made it easier to feel safe and disgusting than in some sense to be in some sense pure, and it could be hectic, but do you understand? We have all been brainwashed, and you're going to ask in what? In a behavioral language assigned with values that are not based on what the species truly deserves. In other words, I've understood. It took me a lifetime, not a lifetime, it took me half a life to realize why they say ask everything from the system admin. Fear only the system admin. I'll add another thing here. Only be impressed by the system admin. That means a human being is under the impression, all right, I'm a simulation. I can go convince all the simulations to do something very original and advanced here. Do you know? And guess what? These simulations are all lost in themselves. Only the higher power. That means I've been here thinking that, yo, man, what's been wrong with our species that we didn't unite to see the advanced potential of our collective stature, do you know, our true collective potential as a species. And then I'm like, yo, that's not, it's like I could have been the greatest speaker on the planet. It wouldn't matter. They get activated from within, all of you. When you feel you're about to lose something, that's when you suddenly become a human. Do you know? And it's crazy Because people think that success is not losing. But when you lose, you are human. When you notice there are losers in the world, what does that mean? That means people are feeling victorious when the species is failing. If you make above $36,000, you're in the 1% of the planet. In other words, I thought only the powerful and rich were POSs. I thought only, do you know, those who had resources were like, it was easy for them to be a-holes. Sorry for being a little out of control this lecture, guys, but honestly, I'm disgusted by every impression of people to some degree I have had. Do you understand? That means I have been treating. Do you know what it is? It's like, imagine you go into a room of rude people, very rude people, and you're a visual learner. So anything anybody says, you get a visual of, right? If somebody comes up to me and tells me like kill yourself, my brain literally tries to like visualizes it physically, like visually. Do you understand? So when I am, imagine you are put in a world where you know being polite is more efficient, but you're in a rude world. And so what are the options? Be rude, don't do anything, hide from the corruption, or show the species what it has not seen before. Rage against the dying of the light. When I was younger, I was afraid of anger. I remember it. I was afraid of intensity. Anything that felt intense, I already felt overpowered by. But after 12,600 days of constant attendance to this realm, I am astonished how all of us are not more angry. That means what's really divine is the invisible force that has been taming all of us. Anyways, this is a broadcast. It's a broadcast to every person that has been drawn to this channel. And I made a mistake. I made a mistake. I gave access to my real self. I'm going to change back the name of the channel, and the talks are going to be free, and anybody, the Discord community is going to be deactivated. Anybody that personally knows me from these talks, please don't contact me. I will not be nice. Okay, as it should have been. Just Mr. Within. I go change the name of my books too. My inner personal dimensions are way more intense than anyone has ever seen me. Even my family doesn't know. There's an intensity of, I don't want to say it's rage. It's more like the rage that appears when when potential is denied. There's nothing more evil. That means if there is a system right now denying speed, slowing down the evolution, the advancement of humans, it is such an evil system. It's like, imagine Einstein writing the essays on general and super relativity and some dude like bothering him when he's about to finish that essay. Like every scientist would buy a time machine and go and defend Einstein in that moment. In other words, I forgot the pattern that was there from my youth. It's as if, think of it this way, I am privatizing my personal life. I'll let the system admin. Of course, everything is in the hands of the system admin. That's the whole point. But you know, a part of me is tired of caring for programs that don't care. It's weird. I'm not a parent. I don't have kids. I'm not married, but I think I'm at that age that I probably should have been, and I'm getting the emotions of like you know how parents feel when kids don't listen. What do? You release the authority. And this world that everybody's dying, like, do you know what it is, guys? Let me tell you, everything you think, most people think the world has an economical problem. There was a picture of the planet with in outer space, and above it with this number of like trillions in depth. Okay, the planet is trillions in depth to what? It's like, I don't know what sort of fictional game we're playing here. Okay, but energy, it's all energy. People need money to buy food, to get energy. Everything is energy. We're a bunch of energetic beings that are not being true to our energy by being forced to get energy in a specific way. What they have done is they have institutionalized access to energy. That's what has been going on Earth. You're an energy, and we're living in that time where, in order, like, you know, there was this whole deal of, they're like, what the F? Why does everybody has, why the F does everybody have well-trimmed lawns but not gardens for food? We are living in a process reality, folks. Civilization 1.0 is a process reality. Just like you go to the store and you buy processed food. And all of you are processed. And this whole time, I've been like, all right, man, let my original presence speak to the original presence of these processed entities. That means I think it's actually a blessing. I think that the system admin is protecting me or I should say it differently. It's protecting others from me. Yeah. I don't want anything from any of you, even if that means I'll go find an army. And you viewers, as you have all been trained, as you have all been conditioned, just view from a distance invisibly. That's it. There's a term in Farsi called nokhodi, which translates to the word chickpea. It means that, I'll give you an example. Me and my twin brother and my cousin were the same age. We would play soccer. My cousin's sister was very young, was younger than us, but she wanted to play. And anytime we would play super intensely, and anytime she would come into the soccer field, like into the parking lot of our apartment where we were playing soccer, everybody would shout, she's nokhodi. So anytime she was there, everybody would slow down around her. It was as if everybody was readjusting their realities around her, you know, because she couldn't be responsible for the intensity that we were playing soccer, football. So I am telling you, all you invisible viewers from a distance, that's what you are, okay? And it's an incredible energetic exchange. I have been foolish. I have committed a grave sin, do you know, by not calculating the expression of the energy. I've been just expressing it. All of you anger me. Not because you owe anything. You anger me because you remain lost in the loops of civilization 1.0. That means, you know that saying they say that if Christ came back, like, would he have to go through immigration? Do you know, would he have to, in some sense, have to give some sort of proof or ID or something, right? Like, we won't trust it, do you know? Well, I'm realizing it's not about trust, folks. You're all in a simulation. Your trust is simulated as well. That means you need specific conditions to allow yourself to be an actual human being. I'm not on Earth. I'm in this weird program, this weird sector of existence where beings know of their potential, but they can't activate it because they're looping based on how they've given everything in the present meaning based on the past. That means, how did these gurus do it? How did these guys, these enlightened yogic gurus, go in front of everybody? Do you know, I'm starting to understand Yuji Krishnamurti, okay, was ahead of all of them. Was ahead of all of them. Good job, man. Some guy came up to Yuji Krishnamurti and told him to tell me about enlightenment. Yuji Krishnamurti called him a dog. He said, you're a dog barking. The guy got offended and Yuji Krishnamurti laughed. You know? That means just like a dog, you get the language you want. That's what Yuji Krishnamurti was saying to that dude. Okay, he was saying, just like a dog, you get what you wanted, you act good. You don't get what you want, you act bad, you bark. And I'm like, holy shit, are we humans or are we just a bunch of stray dogs? Like, what is this? I'm not being rude to the species. Deep down, I live for the species. There's no greater purpose in the outer realms. What I'm telling you, I am tired. I am tired of these artificial. That means it's this very cool time. That means I'm not a general of an army. I don't have an army. But let me tell you what I have. If this was equivalent to back in the day and there were generals like with armies of their own, like meeting each other, I have language that has arose from a different awareness. I have one strange ability. I can see the presence of the moment. That means I know you're a majority of humans, you're just startled programs, freaking, you know, looping in a sort of dualistic value system that you never get because you never understood what you were. You know, where we just live as one side of the coin. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I was born, they named me. You know, there was there first, there was an emotional language, then there was a behavioral language, then there was a vocal language. Do you know? Then there was a purely subjective access to different information structures behind every concept. It's like, what sort of context did it arise from? I'm starting to realize that it is very difficult. I thought it's possible. Deep down, I swear, I thought it's possible to convert civilization 1.0 into civilization 2.0. Now I'm understanding civilization 1.0 has an ego that reduces. That means instead of all of us advancing, we've reached a threshold and we're reducing anything more advanced than that and thinking we're an advanced species. And you know, somebody laughs right now, Mr. Within. What? You just understood what it meant? Don't cast pearls in front of swine? It's like, no. That's not the issue. The swine is not the people. The people are unknown souls gathered in one sector. The swine is what the system translates them as. In other words, all of you think you're free thinkers just because you're chilling in a house and nobody's bothering you. You have been possessed by ideas that had possessed the environment before you found yourself in the environment to identify with it. In other words, none of you see the invisible war of subjects replacing objects and human attention treating the subject more real than the object. Objects and subjects are at war for the true nature of reality within the human psyche. When I say Mr. Within is a backup system, it's because I am in some sense trying to end the old wars, because there's a greater war coming. It is the greater war is not about the human species having civil wars within itself, or the human species fighting with like alien invasion ideas and all that. No. It's the war of dehumanization. It is easy to be human now because we don't have awareness of the actual context. That means it's so easy, man. This whole time I'm like, what the F? Unknown souls have entered the world. They've either identified with objects, subjects, or their emotions. That's it. That's what all of you are. Some of you have prioritized objects. Some of you have prioritized subjects, your subjective experience of reality. Someone's trying to be a billionaire and build a physical empire, and there's someone who's like, like Terence McKenna, where he's like, yo, man, what's the value of the world if we don't know what the real world is? So the dude was under the impression that he has to take psychedelics until he discovers the nature of reality, right? Which was an error, I find. But all of these are errors. It's just prioritizing. You're trying to either figure out how are you objectively true, how are you subjectively true, how are you emotionally true. All of these translate to how are you present. In other words, my chronic state is not happiness. I don't consider myself a happy person. If I'm happy in a simulation, that's idiocy. If I'm happy by, if I look at a photograph and I only see the corner of it and the rest of it is covered and I'm happy with what I saw, then in some sense, that's a sad reality. All of you happy in Civilization 1.0, it's a sad reality. And so what do beings do? In other words, if I was a king back in the day, I would have to, in some sense, confirm the presence of my own kingdom, which means I need to live through the values of my own kingdom. Okay? Now I'm realizing, okay, philosophers have not been philosophers. They have been, in some sense, generals who have, in some sense, assembled armies of concepts, and they're battling the collective hallucination and collective illusion. You don't understand. If reality is looping, what the F do you do? That means they've presented a being here that has access to three different ways of reality. We objectively process reality, we subjectively process reality, and we emotionally process reality. Okay? Asking someone how they feel is equivalent to asking them how are they present. That means it's a different attitude. It's like, yes, I am disgusted by this false, simulation of of a community assigned to this project. Starting to actually really understand. So, as a soul that in the inner realms I've accessed civilization 2.0, but in front of my eyes I'm stuck in civilization 1.0. What are the strategies? What can I do? One, I give into my lower nature. I just stop asking deep questions. I accept the simulation as real and live like the fool I was raised from the beginning, like all of us. It's like I either, think of it in Islam, in the Islamic theology, through the Islamic theological lens. The soul of a Muslim before being born on earth was in this realm called Alam al-Arwah, which means the realm of the world, the realm of souls, the world of souls. In Alam al-Arwah, similar to like a military fashion, souls had ranks, and souls of the same ranks could teleport the souls of other ranks. Okay, if you have friends in this life, your souls are in the same rank. Okay, if you feel comfortable in each other's presence. Okay, that means souls are of the same energetic rank. Okay, but this ranking system, your ranking up and down had to do with the system admin. That means imagine every soul on earth is like a soldier, and based on your performance at the end of this life, you rank up or you rank down. Okay? I'm talking about your soul. I'm not talking about your mind and body or whatever that fathoms as a rank. Now, it is the case that if souls have different ranks and souls, they manifest on earth, they're born on earth, then it's obvious that there is souls of different ranks scattered all around the planet. Okay? Some souls may be underranked for where they are. Some souls may be overranked for where they are. I am telling you, I'm not an egotistical person, because the ego is a lesser technology. Living from the heart, you see way more out of the day. Do you know, living from your presence, you see way more out of the day. I'm not, it's like my ego broke. I noticed my ego in 2011, and ever since then, I have not been treating my expressions as the totality of me. In other words, this is the situation. I'm a human being. I've been born on earth. But in actuality, I have a presence of soul. That presence of soul has a rank. If I have naturally one day of my life opened my eyes, and everything I have seen in the outer realms and this world has not impressed me, I've legit been unimpressed by everything. today. Any good thing, bad thing that happened today, it's not impressive. So this means that my care for the current display of civilization is different than how I care for the potential of civilization. What does that mean? That means I'm nice to civilization when it's responsible for its future. I may be chaotic to civilization when it's lost to its past. Deep down, I know that it's not about the intention. When I say like I'm kind of disgusted by like people and everything, it's like I've been talking in an empty room, but it wasn't empty. That's the problem. So, Mr. Within is in some sense, I guess, the archetypal purpose of my mind. Yeah, there had to be a new archetype. I don't have the temperament. I don't have the patience. I'm like one of those kids where if you ask my parents, they're like, he was an impatient kid. Do you know? So in other words, if the greatest strategy is the advancement of the whole system, and if the system is not advanced and it's looping, what have I been doing acknowledging the unadvanced as advanced? Wow. Just because someone has the potential doesn't mean they care to go about it. You guys might hear my lecture, so eventually it happened. Some dude arose in modern history to talk about the legend of the advanced civilization, to archaically revive the vision of the castles and the clouds, to usher mankind to acknowledge that it is a species on Earth, rather than the politics of a sort of endless ideological analysis of value systems. That means it is strange. I have reached a point where a part of me felt sorry for this world. But when I see the souls in this world, they don't feel sorry for themselves. They're all standing in their own worlds, proud. Of what? Of the inefficiency of civilization. That means this is what angers me. You all think you're great people in a place that is not great yet. I am convinced that every good feeling I have had in this world has been fighting for my attention, just like every bad feeling I've had about this world. And I need to start, just like, I don't know if people know this, there's this video game I play called League of Legends sometimes. It has normal mode and it has ranked mode. To play ranked, it's a different game. You can't be a nokhodi, you can't be a chickpea in it. I've been legit interpreting goodness and politeness and artificial kindness as advanced qualities. because this world is so starved of these qualities. You're listening to this method actor who suddenly realized he's method acting and is no longer method acting, is acting, and now has realized is tired of acting. For who? That means, how do I know you like everyone in 2026, you like maybe I'm not even speaking for you guys, you know? That justifies the response. In other words, in the name of God, O Lord of worlds, O system admin of this system, I see the choice. I either fail comfortably in Civilization 1.0 or succeed uncomfortably in Civilization 2.0. Civilization 1.0 has lost itself. It's like right now the species has forgotten its true identity. You know, the title of the lecture is Releasing All My Fake Friends Back into the Wild. And it is not because they were fake. They could have been original when they were talking to me. But the actions and the presence, thank you for engaging, but the artificial never really engaged the work. It is an incredible feeling for me to return to this moment where, do you know what it is? I am disconnecting from the allegiance of the past. It's enlightening to not have allies. Not here. Done with people. I'm even done with even trying to get married and have kids. Just waiting for the system admin to just turn the page to the next chapters. What have I been doing for 12 years? Talking to what? An inefficient civilizational program with inefficient programs in it. They're like, when you have fun, you know, time flies by. I guess when everybody has a watch on their wrist, it's like, okay, nobody's having fun. It's like we're maintaining a system that nobody is enjoying, really, because the moment you individually enjoy it, the collective suffering is visible. In other words, there's this notion of the guardian angel. And a person has to be, every intelligent being is going to realize your intelligence is, you are your own guardian angel. Your ability to envision your future self is your guidance. You know, guardian angels are like future selves from a matter of speech. The only archetype known in current times that can know how you need to be guided. God is an unconditional. So I don't believe in God as if God is limited to any condition. God is an original unconditional moment. So this makes it easy. If I can get rid of my emotions, somebody once said emotions are distractions. And I'm starting to realize the emotional expectation I had of my own ability, of my own capability. That means you do something in the outer realms and the world shows you what you are. But the world also positions you as a strategist, and so the being can re-strategize. Friendship is self-delusion. I have to find a different way to build the advanced civilization, and it can't be limited to human beings. These civilization 1.0 is sleeping. They're like, yo man, wake up civilization 1.0, so they build civilization 2.0. It's like, I tried for 12 years, they don't nudge. They don't nudge. They steal. I know there's been times I've seen, because I have a very unique relationship with the geometry of conceptions and ideology. And of course, it's like giving these talks is like planting a garden. They're like, okay, Mr. Within, you're planting a garden. What do you want? It's like, nothing. Just stay back and watch the garden, I don't want anything from all of you. All of you sit back in the comfort of civilization 1.0's chairs. Sit back. Don't even think of the advanced civilization. I want everybody on earth for the rest of your lives, guys, obsess about yourselves in your own worlds, never really being human, never really seeing what's actually here, never actually confronting the unknown presence of it all, and to realize that there's movements beyond how the human archetype can process. Yeah, live in your own worlds. Don't get me wrong, I am not a savior. Anyone who's been, somehow these talks have saved you, that's indirect. Thank the system admin. There's two attributes. In other words, this world created a soul, positioned a soul hilariously to the New Age community, not only as a Sagittarius, but also as a Persian. And we think people are people. We think like the Japanese are Japanese. We think the Persians are Persians, or like, I don't know, the Russians are Russians. You are all deep down algorithms happening on the earth. This is just your manifest construct. But the algorithm has been of, in some sense, how do I explain to you? There was a fourth force within humans that caused them to raise empires. What did that mean? We know what a genius is in physics, for example. We pat Einstein on the back. But what is a genius in psychology? Every day of my life that I have been artificially granting honor to the civilization 1.0, I have been denying the presence of the values of civilization 2.0. In other words, it's like I'm realizing if usually life tends to be an accumulation of a network of communication. But when you see the network is like spider threads blown by the wind, it's done. I honor the potential of Civilization 1.0. Everything else about Civilization 1.0 is not impressive. For the first time in my life, I think I successfully completed it. I don't want anything from anyone. Any expectation, even wanting the species to build an advanced civilization. There's a system admin here that by an instant command can unlock all your hearts. And for 12 years, I've been trying to unlock the heart of the species, and I'm just realizing it is not limited to me. It's the system admin's authority. Therefore, oh system admin, I guess, as I've deep down known for a while, I'll live for Civilization 2.0. Oh, God. So, I've been saying dear viewers, but, that feeling is not the same. You're all, Civilization 1.0 is just bound. It is bound to accumulation. Do you know, it's like energy is being exchanged for gain. They've brainwashed everybody to think that you need money to be happy. Do you know? No, everything is about energy. You're here for a certain time. You're this, okay, everybody agrees we're energy, right? Like you're this energy container, this sort of container of energy. And in this lifetime, you're using your energy. Everybody, imagine the energy of your being a bank account, okay? And all the energy you have, like that's your wealth, okay? Now you can use your energy to let's say build a community of other energetic beings, do you know? Or if you suddenly feel like, this is what's happening to me personally, I am getting a feeling. I am noticing that I have been living for years unmasked under certain emotions. That means you're listening to a person who's realized for like 12,006 in during the duration of 12,600 days, I have been in some sense looping in certain emotions. That means what I felt was what good meant as a kid, my emotion to that hasn't changed. I noticed that and it shocked me, and now I am being released. That means I am releasing everyone to some degree, trying to release them from anybody who's known me personally. I've been forcing my personality has been forcing a rogue lone wolf soul to be happy in a world that that upsets him. Like it's hilarious. Like Civilization 1.0 was like that genius musician who never picked up the instrument. And they're like, why are you angry, man? Why is your attitude suddenly harsh to people? Because I've allowed all, in some sense, my personal impression of others to become them. As much as I'm disgusted by others, I'm disgusted by myself too. The fact that I played along. The fact that I was not awake then. I've had a bunch of actually mentally ill people harass me on Discord. And At first the anger was at them, like what the f. Then the anger was like, God, why are you bringing these? Like, okay, I saw it. The first mentally ill person you brought, okay, I understood. I figured out what was wrong with them. Do you know, even though it was not my place to help them, but I just understood. Do you know why else? Do you know? And then I was like, it's not that, dude. You've opened the halls. I that means it's like do you know, we have this neutral value. Imagine if like Elon Musk was walking, and imagine somebody's there, and when you meet Elon Musk, you don't know who he is and he doesn't know who you are. You have a casual conversation, right? But eventually then you realize, oh my God, that was Elon Musk, and a part of you's like, whoa. Okay, so what is this? It's the same thing happening on a metaphysical level. Do you understand? Where we on some level have this neutral, we don't know who others are, we know who we are, and we give them meaning through our experiences. In other words, imagine, Pablo Picasso, or imagine someone created a masterpiece, okay, like a masterpiece artwork, and they just threw it on the ground, and they just threw it to their dog, and their dog started chewing it and destroying their masterpiece. And then they asked themselves, why did I take the time? And the only answer is, it was inner realm training. In other words, I have been dishonoring the higher ranked beings in this world of ours by honoring the ranks of those whose ranks are not are unjustified. It is a different game. Out of all the people on planet Earth, I don't know how many of them are living with a value system purely based on the future. You have ideological systems based on the past. Because seldom is this said, every great, let's say, speaker, okay, and every great person in the history books, they are known not because their greatness was like a loop. It was their greatness was the introduction of something new that they began being defined by, right? For me, it's like the burden I'm carrying. I'll give you an example. Terence McKenna, his soul had the burden of carrying the mushroom. Alan Watts, his soul had the burden of carrying Zen Buddhism to the West. Muji had the burden of carrying what his the lineage of gurus before him had to carry, which was ancient, in some sense, Vedic awareness. Every person known in history, even Sartre, he was known for his existentialism. Do you understand? He was known by nullifying the concept of depth and rendering the surface as the depth. Every great person is known for some heroic thing they've done in the inner realms. Do you know? For me, it's a bit different because it's something where I'm like, God, why did you choose a freaking introvert? Do you know, that in some sense is an impatient, introverted speedster? Do you know, to come and advance a civilization that has been advancing so slowly, where it's pretty much basically looping? And I realized there was one thing, one attribute that maybe I had that I haven't seen in others. Okay? Or maybe I haven't seen in others because it's hidden by them. Okay? But it was this realization that I valued the world before valuing myself, And I was okay with not having a value of self. I was incompetent to be myself when I was young. I remember, because all my youth memories, I am an observer more than a participant. And those moments where I was a participant, they weren't recorded like film files. Do you know, they were like emotionally recorded. It's like what I was feeling. It's like when you speed up an image, it becomes a film. When you speed up a film, it becomes an emotion. It's like only contained through an emotion. You know, somebody could come and tell me, Mr. Within, I feel sad. I'll be like, there's a great war happening behind your eyes. Somebody could come and tell me I feel happy. I'll be like, there's a great war happening behind your eyes. If somebody comes and tells me, Mr. Within, I feel unknown, I will be like, you are among the most advanced. That means you're listening to that movement on earth, the first to truly, in some sense, argue with the logic of civilization. They all praise common sense, but it is so foolishly designed. The system is designed to be controlled, not designed to be advanced, and that's so stupid. Why? Because all the evil people controlling the world at the cost of its advancement, you fools, start doing the opposite of what you're doing, freeing the world, liberating the world, and then when it's an advanced world, try controlling it. Your evil urges have manifested too soon. That means in the future, if aliens land on Earth and they're like, weird, why isn't there any evil beings here? And we'll be like, no, there are evil beings, but they've all paused their evil because this voice in history arose by the name Mr. Within, pausing all the wars. That means that was my sole strategy. Not to just build an army of my past selves to march immortally into the future after I've died. It is to be like, why can one human being see himself 600 years in the future walking on sky cities? And yet the species is just giving meaning to the present from the past. They're like release, just like how that scene in Lord of the Rings, where the trees were losing, like that was a crazy movie, where the trees in the second film, do you know, were like rebelling. It's like first time in history, the concept of trees rebelling. And they go and break the dam. One tree breaks the dam. Do you know what I mean? And suddenly they are empowered. And you think if we were that army, rebellious army of trees, but we're freaking monkeys instead. They have starved this species from its potential. You are valued in a company, not by all the advanced visions and possibilities, not by your future potential, but by what the F you've been able to systematically do. They were so ingenious that they made success, in some sense, disconnected from the actual masterpieces of artworks happening on the lower levels of civilization. Do you understand how cruel it is to blindfold a species in its own home? They exiled the artists. They exiled those who stayed true to how they're a unique DNA, that nothing like that exists. And yet when you see civilization, it is legit the invisible possession of masses of human beings by a system. That means people are like, yo, man, or do demons exist? Can a person get possessed by demons? I'm like, buddy, the species is being possessed by ideas that in some sense were from the past. They're possessing the potential of the present through the past. That means you're like a chained titan. We are the chained titans. Even though the titan was a metaphor for the ego, and the soul was a metaphor for the gods, and that your soul has imprisoned you in your ego. Excuse me, I shouldn't use that term. Has contained you. That's a better term. It's not imprisonment. It has contained you in a certain format. That means waking up on earth is legit seeing endless programs activating on earth. And human beings are beings that are reacting and responding to invisible environments. A squirrel doesn't care. A squirrel just jumps from tree to tree. It's just dealing with the physics. It's responsible for a visible environment. But the information age, the information era, just how we consider ourselves to be intelligent. You're not just responsible for the visible realm anymore. You're also responsible for the invisible values and meanings given to what you see visibly. So I guess to me what makes sense is a recalibration of my own strategy. My strategy was, okay, just release the force and the world will know what to do. That means just like when you write, I don't know if people know this, this is something that writers deal with. Okay, when you write something, it's a different energy. Okay, and then editing is a different energy. And what I don't know, what I do as a writer is that when I write something, I don't edit it right away. There are like nanosecond edits on the way of writing it, but but you create something, you write something, you put it in the drawer, and then like a week later or some random time you feel called to it, like a gift you've set for yourself, you go and read your writings and edit them. Okay, but it depends on the type of writings they are. If the writings are from you, you edit them. If the writings are from just the presence of the moment, that's something you shouldn't edit. I'm realizing that I thought we need to live for the people, but the people are all conditioned by civilization 1.0's values. So it's pointless to live for a system that is looping. In other words, it's the introduction of novelty into the system. That is the true power of every human being. The soul is an original being, is the original self. Excuse me, not the original self. It's the original. It's a connection. It's a link with the original state of being. Anybody has a soul. Your soul is connected, just like how effects are connected to the cause. Do you know what it is? This is what I'm realizing. I'm trying to build an advanced civilization. I thought that you gotta, like, build a loyal following of people who you convinced, through acts of service. And then now I'm realizing, no, all of you you go where your attention goes, and your attention's been conditioned in a certain way. In other words, if I want to protect the human species and the human archetype from the dehumanized invasions of the future, unfortunately, I'm realizing that I have to also go and battle them on a dehumanized level. And the safest, healthiest dehumanized level for human access is Plato's world of forms. That means it's healthier to see a geometrical being than an actual like humanoid being. Okay? Geometry is healthier to navigate. That means people are like, okay, Mr. Within, you envision. So when you talk about, like in my sci-fi, I've written about giants. Okay? My first science fiction book is called The Messenger of Giants. My mind fathoms that. Now the question is, Mr. Within, are you scared of the visual of what your mind shows you in the inner realms? Even if I do get scared, I shift myself into a geometrical being, and a geometrical being has no personality, so I just navigate the shape of the moment through attention. You are listening to a soul that knows. Strangely, I think before this life I knew, that knows how to navigate and pilot the inner realms. And every person's activation of their true self, of their soul, of their unknown life, you think it's mastery. Mastery is humanized. There's levels above mastery. Above mastery, it becomes more and more instantaneous. We human beings, we suffer because in our inner realms, we see a more advanced world than we see in the outer realms in front of our eyes. And we gain a feeling from what the advance feels like. Like, I don't know, what it's like to, let's say, have $1 billion, but I can imagine what it feels like because I've seen certain beings with that money, like having certain emotions. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can fathom it, but I don't have access to it in the outer realms. And it's like for me, I'm like, all right, man, you gotta like accept. And when I finished film school, a teacher of mine who ended up being a very demented person, actually, but he taught me a very valuable lesson, and he told me. He said, don't fall in love with your artwork. And I fell in love with the vision of the advanced potential of humanity, of the advanced humanity. And I let that emotion distract me from treating those around me accordingly. That means I have been dishonest with others if I have just thought they are what I have thought. I shouldn't use the word thought. It's like the subject that I've assigned to them in my mind. Do you know? It's a subject assigned from my mind. That means I have been dishonoring this species by acting not in accordance to the true presence of the moment. I've been filtering myself. For what? So the civilization loops comfortably. It's all about civilization 2.0. And there was this show where this father looks at his son in like Viking times. It was some Japanese anime. And the father, this guy named Thors, looks at this character named Thorfinn or something. And he says, you have no enemies, and a true warrior doesn't need to fight with a sword. Doesn't need a sword. Doesn't need a sword to win. And when I heard that sentence, you have no enemies, because of the symmetrical nature of my approach to things, I was like, yo, that means you have no friends either. This friendship has been a brainwashing. You're all unknown souls that care for what you see in your inner realms more than what is actually going on in the outer realms. You care for the outer realms when it serves you, when it's entertaining enough. At least I got to see how unadvanced civilization was. They're like, oh my God, this dude's giving this talk in 2026. That means the archetype of Mr. Within is way greater than the archetype of who I was individually as a person on this earth. I'm just this biological program that is initiating a big, to me is big. Like, I'm the first in my lineage. To walk in cyberspace at this scale. They're like, what were human beings like in 2026? Imagine they're asking this from the future. They're like, yeah, go listen to the podcast. It's like, yo, if the species can't can't skip 2 coffees a month, we're doomed, yo. We're doomed. The honor is in Civilization 2.0. This is not a declaration of war to Civilization 1.0. This is just to say that to all beings in this realm and in the presence of the system admin, your destinies are in the system admin's hands. And I will live out my days exploring the uncharted states of being. Civilization 2.0 is such a big project. It's such a big project that it is not just completed by human will. There's obviously greater will. There's mods here, but there's the system admin. And human beings have to activate their divine link. You know how Goku went Super Saiyan? Or how Luke Skywalker discovered the Force? They're like, yo, man, did Yoda really need a cane? Yoga's cane was technically drip, as the modern poets say. That means The ego doesn't want help. The ego just wants to consume, to remain. There has to be a greater power activated within the human being. You have to find a purpose that is greater than the idea of you. So guys, good news for Civilization 1.0. The talks are all going to be free again. However, I am disconnecting. I am disconnecting from the community. May the system admin bless all of us. May all be guided to their most advanced potential. May the true advanced potential of humanity activate. My personality has noticed the greater presence of the world. But the individual me can only go so far. The rest of it is a civilization. It's a collective movement. I'm too shy, I think, deep down, to go and become like a symbol or something. Only the idea, just like how Victor Hugo says, there's nothing more powerful than an idea in which its time has come. Now the time of Mr. Within has come. That means it's like I mean, Jabbar, answer who I am really, like that is in living, that has only access to a small sector of the world. But my awareness and my vision is further than my access in my outer realms. In other words, folks, I'm releasing everybody I've known back into the wild. And I encourage you to release the idea of me as well. Sometimes to be alone is a blessing in a world that never saw you or its own future potential. It's like, what honor of the species? Everybody's obsessed with themselves. But I know that the advanced humanity will arrive, and I am speaking for those, the future generations who realize that it is a core essential part of our energy as a being to honor civilization. That means, like, we can't lie to ourselves. Like, we got to be realists in the present, and we have to also I guess have in some sense, like, what is it, like the light bulb was invented behind Edison's eyes before in front of it, or the AC motor was invented behind Tesla's eyes before in front of it. So in our inner realms, I can envision people to be the greatest people, and I can envision people to be the worst type of beings or the greatest type of beings. And I am releasing every person I have assumed I've known because I've interpreted an impression of them. I am releasing you all into the wild in the same way I am releasing you all back into the realization that you're all unknown beings and you all have ranks. That means I'm probably at an age where I should have kids, but because I don't, well, guess what? The species, that means it's the idea. The idea is greater than the actual physical event, in some sense. That means, think of it this way. The idea of a flying car is accessible. We can imagine a flying car, but we cannot... we don't have them commercialized now. So we have access to advanced probabilities of reality before they have happened. Meaning that our mind, what it's technically your inner realms, your inner realms are here to reposition reality in numerous ways before you choose your next position. Ultimately, it's about the quality of decision making. I've just realized I need to take a step back from people, like everyone. Because Civilization 1.0 has its own language. Misunderstood emotions can be interpreted as chaotic archetypes to people. It's like an impatient, selfish species, and Mr. Within's trying to build an advanced civilization. And I'm like, buddy, I gave 12,000 talks. I don't know what else, not 12,000. I gave 2,600 talks, and all that amounted to was only like just a few souls. That's it. Not even a few, just like one soul. In other words, to expect advanced understanding and behavior from Civilization 1.0 is like to expect a traditional medieval wagon to go at the speed of like a Ferrari. And then being like, yo, man, I'm hating this world. It's not going at the speed of the Ferrari. That's Civilization 1.0, but this is a public space. Existence is a public space. That means it's not we think it's territorial due to an animal nature, but in accordance to a divine nature, there's a divine permission of intelligent expression here. In other words, it's like, yo, man, all these people, any person, like, I'm going to say this to anyone, anybody who says I love everyone or I love everything, right? Be very careful of those people. I'm starting to realize, be very careful of people who love everything in a simulation. That's even crazier than like the normal definition of crazy. To love, it's like to love a simulation is equivalent to trying to hug your shadow. And some people are like, I'm hugging everybody's shadows. I'm like, you freak. It's not love is wrong. It's that it's that you've conditionalized your love. Even if you love everything, everything is a condition. It's the accumulation of all conditions. The only sentence that I feel like I truly is valid to me if someone says, I love the source, I love God, and that's how I love everything. Then I'll be like, okay, you're honest. All these people, acting, they're just emotional programs manifesting through biological programs. You don't understand what's happened, guys. In the past month, I have, just like how Goku leveled up, I have leveled up in accessing, what has leveled up has been the context. I've realized, just like Neo can see matrix codes, I can see emotional manipulation of the species everywhere. I can see it. I can see that we manipulate ourselves emotionally by enforcing ourselves to be a specific thought every day. I see all of you, every person, the Holy Quran is so profound, in Islamic theology through that lens. There's a verse in the Holy Quran that says, every good thing that happens to you, it is from the higher order process from God. And every bad thing that happens to you is from yourself. And we're like, whoa, isn't God moving everything? It's like, no, there is a unique agency. To be a soul means to be present in the grand battlefield of existence. You are an unknown experiential force. Sorry, I'm getting emotional because I'm noticing 8.1 billion souls enslaved by their past. And it's chaotic, and everybody's acting like everything's normal. In my youth, I was convinced that the meaning of life was the creator. It's just about a creative energy. That's the way to be creative. Then you get older and you reach the middle of your life. Let's say you realize, then it's about maintaining. It's the maintainer dimension. It's like, you thought it was about just the creator. You're like, no, it's about maintaining the things I've created. It's about maintaining my position, conscious position, and rank in the realm. But the true rank of your soul, only the system admin knows. And the reason, through the theological lens, it says any negative thing that you do is because you don't realize the responsibility your soul has. And you've convinced yourself that ideas or let's say images or visual senses of your past self and how you felt in the past have convinced you are that. You're legit like, imagine you're this unknown being and there's your past, all your past selves, your present self, and all your future selves are trying to like talk to you at the same time. Most people are listening to their past selves. Some souls think that's ultimate freedom. They are listening in the present. That means before they let instead of like, it's like, what's easier, responding back to all my past senses of self, or just talking to whatever's present, right? So there's some beings who've managed to get to the present, like Eckhart Tolle. Anybody you hear that say we're in the here and now, behind that mask of here and now, there's a non-dualist trying to pull everything towards non-duality. That means, sorry man, before I'm some enlightened energy that dissolves into light, I'm a member of the human species. I am in charge. I'm like a general with one soldier, and that's me. I'm like my own army. I'm like a one-man army. I'm the general, like my soul is the general, my mind is the commanding officer, my body is the soldier. And God, even though poetically in this example is the emperor, but God is beyond human. That means I'm a simulated conditional entity, realizing I've been simulated here in these conditions for some time. On some level, the story the species is telling itself is based on a past that could not see as far as we can see now. In other words, the present is another way of saying you've reached the edge of your past. One edge of your past. To advance the human species means that on some level you are responsible. Think of it this way. You know how you go to the gym and they give you like a membership card or some membership tag, and you need that membership tag to get in? Well, guess what? Every human being in history that has looked upon their own reflection, that has looked in the mirror, they have seen their membership to the human species. Okay, and when we live individualist, when we prioritize our individual lives more than the collective outcome of the system, it's unnecessary. Because if we aligned, like the whole point of it is, why am I alive? Oh yeah, to advance to the next day. Oh yeah, why did I advance to the next day? Oh yeah, to advance to the next month. Okay, why did I advance to the next month? Oh yeah, to advance to the next year. Why did I advance to the next year? Oh yeah, to advance to the end of the lifetime. Okay, why did I advance to the end of the lifetime? Okay, based on my experience and true understanding of what was going on during the lifetime, I most likely would have a conclusion that the lifetime continues or it does not. Because so far I am convinced that this is a simulation, I know that the original reality still stands. In other words, all souls are seeking the original world, the original earth. Like, what do we appreciate? Why is novelty very close to divinity? Because it's the introduction of the new. Now, if that novelty is the responsibility of the system admin, it's divine. If it's the responsibility of yourself, you're just some creative dude, you know? So, I have reached that state of awareness in human life that to be polite to people is actually to be honest with them. That person telling that lady that he has, even if he had 75 cents, he wouldn't give. Like that lady was like, okay, at least this guy's an honest being. At least I can process this information. Do you know? I have no idea why all of us are here right now. But it feels to me like we're attending like this great event, and on some level, like we shouldn't sacrifice civilization 2.0 values in civilization 1.0. That's pretty much been what I've been doing. I've been Mr. Within's kind of like that human being in history being like, yo, where's the species going? Even if you follow a system outside of yourself, you're following the species. So I have to start living with the values of civilization 2.0, and the values I have in civilization 2.0 actually make me angry about civilization 1.0. How have I been so casually just playing along with this? So anyways, thanks for every kind-hearted soul's effort and even care to engage with this project. But I am realizing the game is so much more bigger than just the emotions of individuals. And what is at stake is the advanced potential of the advanced humanity of we need to get to the advanced humanity checkpoint. That means they're like, yo, man, what did everybody do after hearing Mr. Within talks? They all ran to see whatever part of life they could be responsible to advance. Every soul has its own dance. But the music is not being played by the soul is hearing it. In the same way, consciousness is attending an event as an unknown life force moving a known life form. So, I expected too much from Civilization 1.0, which in actuality is a world of simulated biological programs, simulating psychological programs to, in some sense, maintain invisible worlds where they linger in. Really, what the soul is this unknown viewing force that is living through the human format. To be human is an identification. In order to identify, there needs to be consciousness in the room. There is a reason the philosopher Nietzsche said, if a tree falls in a forest, would anyone hear it? Therefore, all beings alive right now in the universal sector, in just this moment, it's like, what else can I say? We don't know where we are, and we need to give speeches. That means from honestly, if somebody's like, Mr. Within, what are you doing? It's like I'm this unknown being, and it feels like I'm having this intense energetic roar. I feel like when I give these talks, it feels like this great wind from behind me is passing through with the momentum of my words, you know? But who knows? The hardest challenge is we have to make sure the self doesn't eclipse us from the truth. Others don't eclipse us from the truth. The world doesn't eclipse us from the truth. The only way this is possible is to realize truth is unconditional. If truth is unconditional and there had to be a presence before the simulated could be, in other words, the causal presence is eternal. The effects are simulated. In other words, we have been exiled from eternity. That's what being on earth means. You have been exiled from the original realm. And so we have to figure out why. And it's kind of obvious. We forgot the original values. Anyways, thank you for listening. Mr. Within has no enemies, has no friends. The game is so much bigger, in the middle of me, trying to care to like, okay, how do I care for these other beings, other programs? It's like, yo, man, it's like the genius chess move is You're here for a certain time. My biological program is going to function in this existence for a certain time, and then I'm going to die, right? That's how it is. And then this biological program has an opportunity to initiate these psychological programs through communication. So they're like, yo, if in the afterlife they're like, yo, how did you live your life? I'm like, I pretty much realized the human being, the most advanced thing it could do is communicate, and that's what I did. And they're like, what about your sins? And what about your good deeds? And I'm like, I just chose to live in accordance to the advance. That means judge me based on someone who is going full force in attempting to see what the most advanced potential is. That means, I don't know, maybe the future generations will see it this way, that I was like some hilarious, I don't know, God, like it's ultimately the system admin's genius, but it's like some hilarious soul that entered human history and was like, wait a minute, if I can see an advanced civilization, why isn't it advanced now? And the moment that occurred, the moment I realized, just like I could imagine better versions of myself, I could imagine better versions of the world, that was a game changer. You know, I'm starting to realize I have never, deep down in my psychology, liked or disliked anyone because I felt disconnected from knowing who they are. It's only in it's like the ratio of the illusion has to be more than 50% to be ignorant of the actual reality of what intelligent modern communication is. That means it's like based on the games we play, we identify with certain players, right? I'm choosing to play the game of Civilization 2.0. I am not impressed by Civilization 1.0. A part of me is convinced that, you know, the soul's honor is absent, you know, for many. You're all living in accordance to not your heart. You're living in accordance to your mind. You're trying to adapt to a condition, to remain in a condition at the cost of knowing what that condition was. So, I think the healthiest attitude I should have is these talks are actually for the future generations. A 12-year experiment resulted in me realizing how descended the nature of man is. All these people, just because they can visualize good subjects, they think they're good people. In other words, I don't know. I'd leave it in the system admin and God's hands. May God bless this channel and guide it to, I guess, who needs to hear it. I do not any longer expect anything from any of these souls. They're all in your command. Guide me towards the most advanced and genius moments. I am no longer distracted by self, others, or the world. The simulation tried, but failed when the being realized the original presence of reality. It is the concept of higher realms means greater modes of being. We're in the presence of a world where greater modes of being are probable, just like a two-dimensional square realizing it's a three-dimensional cube. So At the beginning, we possess ourselves, we possess others, we possess the world, and then we release the world, we release ourselves, we release others, we release the world from ourselves. The simulation will go on happening in a way that no individual free will can process accurately, right? But to protect the human species, by reminding it of its connection to the original presence of this whole world, there are greater rooms to be explored by the human species. Do not fear the dehumanized. It's just dualistically classified. Pretty much the world in the future is going to be divided between knownism and unknownism, and beyondism are going to be the three major philosophies of the advanced civilization. Knownists believe that their result as an energy is in a condition. The unknownists have noticed that there's the unconditional presence. That means it's like, yo man, I didn't know anything when I was born, and on some level I'm realizing the species didn't know anything when it was born either. And so everything so far, the civilization 1.0 is the prototype. They're like, why are you releasing your friends back into the wild? I am freeing the world from myself, in the sense that the self was never an idea that could have an impression of a specific person. I am pretty much, if my brain throughout the day saw people and like Sherlock Holmes overthought everything, and wondered about probabilities and tried to constantly like process information, a sort of scanning and processing vibe to every moment I'm conscious in the waking state. They're like, if you had two options, love the simulation, hate the simulation and love truth, or love the simulation and hate truth. Should I love this simulated world and hate truth for making this love hollow? Everybody says, yo man, go after true love. What is true love? Freedom? Is it just freedom of souls to be present in one moment? In the same way, a person who fasts, or let's say you're thirsty and you go drink water, it's like, psychologically speaking, the archetypal self is bored from the outer realms, because the inner realms, it has seen advanced probabilities to the outer realms in the future. In other words, it's like the person who was riding a wagon, and saw a Ferrari and got into the Ferrari. In the same way, civilization will advance by realizing 2026 is still low resolution experience of human species. Anyways, I wanted to say thank you for listening, but your programs of civilization 1.0. So I would say, let us thank the original power that allows consciousness to wonder about the most advanced state and views. Mr. Within is telling you, go towards the most advanced, because truth seems to be it. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the most advanced, in the presence of the original unconditional moment that all conditional, simulated moments have arisen from and will return to, in the presence of the original being who all this world and manifestation is, that being's original life. Because a free being, just like how this quantum physicist said, they asked him about quantum physics back in the day, and he was like, yo man, it's like we took a jaguar, we put it in a cage, and then we're saying that's what a jaguar is. We are experiencing a life that is caged by our own meaning, and our own meaning is limited. So on some level, you're all unknown beings. I'm an unknown being. Everything has been a simulation. And I guess from my heart's eyes, I thought this world had more honor. I'm disheartened because the advanced potential I see is it's not there. It's like there, but it's too dormant. There's like too many layers of simulations, too many curtains, and it's like you're trying to pierce through all of them at once. Through the swordsmanship of words. Anyways, thank you for listening. In honor of the system admin, of this whole system, in honor of the original moment. Thank you. And I thank the moment, actually. I don't know people anymore. You're all unknown beings. I have no idea if you guys care or are possessed by your past or the present, but only those who've realized the future is where both of them were, the other two were heading. Shout out to all the futurists and all the artists and all the novelty that is being introduced to this realm. The weirdest thing about normality was normality itself. The normal are weird in a changing world. Thank you. Thank the moment.